All right, this is the obligatory, this is my company, the company that I'm with right now. Thank you very much. You can read faster than I can talk. I'm not going to talk that much more about it. There we go. Now, notice how I'm just kind of cutting to the chase. Cutting to the chase is because what you're here to speak about, listen about, is IPv6 and then innovations of IPv6. So let me go ahead and make sure that how many people in here understand path maximum transmission unit discovery? Oh, there's a couple of good hands here. Great, right. RFC 8201, right? Yep. Okay, now I'm just confirming the techies in the audience. Just want to let you know. All right, hell yes? Okay, that was good. That's good. So the point about here is that we don't understand ICMPv6. We don't understand what IPv6 was built to do at 128 bits. We don't understand that we have to do end-to-end testing. We have to have end-to-end cybersecurity architectures. If we don't understand these kinds of things, maybe you should go to an IPv6 101 course, and that's okay. That's good. Training is wonderful. But here we're going to be talking about some things that, if you're not familiar with IPv6, it's going to be esoteric. Now, my presentation is going to be a little bit different because, number one, I'm working with the U.S. government. And that should be a joke, but it's not. The whole point about the U.S. government, when we started IPv6 effort, and this is my background, I've been working this for so many years. The point here is in 2003, we actually started doing stuff in the U.S. government. And everybody looked at each other and went, what? Well, why? And then, of course, many of the people in the government realized that there's only, in a 32-bit address, you only got, how many addresses? 4.3. I'm asking the audience, come on. Yeah, right? And then when was it exhausted? Right, 2011. So here, by the way, I believe in participative audiences. I hope you don't mind. So here we are, 2011, and they're gone. Gone, right? Okay, and then everybody's going, okay, what do we do now? Well, IPv6 was rolled out, 128-bit addresses, great stuff. If you look at all of these things up here on the slide, right, these are the documents the U.S. government used to explain to the U.S. government people, the executives, the leaders, the engineers, said, you have to get there. Now, I know that all these things are there, it's normal gobbledygook, blah, blah, blah. But I was one of those guys that wrote a few of these documents, or not writing it, but it was a key contributor, including this last one here, M2107. And part of that was, let's get the job done. Let's just move forward and get it done. Each one of them had technical objectives at a high order. Didn't go too much into, okay, here's your IPv6 addressing plan that you should have /48 for every geographical location. We didn't tell anybody that. But what we did do is expect people to hire people to bring them on board to get the job done. Now, OMB 522, correction, yeah, OMB 522, that kicked it off, right? 2005 said you got to be to IPv6 by 2008. So I walked into the Internal Revenue Service of the United States in 2011, and they said, hey, listen, we want you to be our IPv6 transition manager. I said, okay, cool. What do you want me to do? He said, you're the SME, do it. I went, okay. So I went back to this right here in 2005, and I saw that the IRS did very well. And I said, okay, where's your plan? And they went, what plan? And I said, you had to have a plan. So we think we had a plan, but maybe we didn't have a plan. I said, okay, never mind, we're gonna rewrite the plan. But look at this right here. Let me tell you right now that anybody who wishes in a large enterprise, it works also for small. But in a large enterprise, if you follow these steps and you get the right people on the team, you're golden. Why? This is the guts of the plan that I put into the Internal Revenue Service and got 97,000 desktops dual stacked with VPN connectors and a host firewall which supported both IPv4 and IPv6. And during COVID, when people left the IRS to go home to telework with those VPN connectors, 60,000 connected back to the IRS, 16 16,000 connected back over to the IRS over IPv6 internet and didn't know it without any loss of service. Those are the kinds of milestone success criteria that you can put into your efforts in moving forward. But these are the things here. This is the core. All right, this guy here, this is the thing that everybody's dancing around right now, M2107. And as a matter of fact, this is the reason why I'm employed right now, leading 40 people to assist in a major cabinet level agency in the US government to accomplish their IPv6 transition in the next 3 years. So if you look at this, you're going, what? Wait, stop. Okay, who in here has a question about anything on this slide? Specifically, and bring up the point about here, can I lead the counselor? Make it IPv6 only?
Just to give you a background, Verizon started IPv6 transition in 2009. I was part of the Verizon team. 50% of the Verizon traffic is running on IPv6 today. It's just that they don't advertise it. And I'm not a Verizon representative here. I have moved on beyond Verizon today.
Me too.
But just to let you know, I mean, dual stack is all the phones in your hand is all dual stack today. Even AT&T has transitioned to dual stack, and you need dual stack because not all the servers in the world are IPv6. Ideally, you should be IPv6, and I think going forward, as you go to 5G and service assurance and connect the billions of devices, you got to have IPv6, and people have to start moving their servers from IPv4 to v6. So that's where the biggest momentum and inertia is.
Yes, sir. Can we get your name for the record, please? Because somebody in the black helicopter is going to come by and see you. I'm joking. I'm so joking. But what's your name, please?
Praveen Gupta.
And your organization?
I'm from MITRE.
Perfect, great. So a couple of things that he brought up. And I'm not going to belabor the point because I'd rather get to Craig and to Lawrence because those guys are actually the rock stars. I'm just here block and tackle type of stuff. I spent 2 years in Verizon. You want to know why Fios right now is IPv6? Fios was not. And I can tell you the specifics on how. We'll do this on a sidebar. And by the way, just want to let you know, everybody, so how many people here have a 5G phone? Probably everybody, right? And there's a telecom. You got to be 5G. Once you're connected on 5G, you're going to be connected to 5G. I happen to know about that. There's a telecom that I may not have worked for in the past. This is being recorded, right? In their 5G network, every phone, /64. The entire network is a /64. Not with /48 geographically located, it's all one /64. And why is that possible for those of you who know IPv6? How many IPv4 internets can fit within a /64? A lot. So in other words, there's a lot of addresses there. So to your point, sir, dual stack transition mechanism is there. I've already proven the point that I can get to a 20% IPv6 only. In this case here, I actually have already done the studies with other people in the federal workforce, other IPv6 transition managers on how to get to 50%. 80% is going to be hard. And you want to know why it's hard? It's the applications that vendors and developers won't move to IPv6. So once we get there and understand that, that's the big deal. By the way, anything in here, does anything in here change what the previous things were saying back in 2005 and 2010? It just says, get there. Can we get there? Yes, we can. You can read this faster than I can talk. Suffice to say that what this is just it's extrapolation onto what are the things that are happening in the federal government. I want to bring your attention to DHS and CISA. DHS and CISA, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the alphabet soup of the U.S. federal government, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and CISA is the Center for Infrastructure Security. So the point there is that they've embedded now cybersecurity in IPv6 requirements. So why is that a good thing? Well, the very first thing we have within the US government is something called FISMA. And FISMA is, you better report out and say, here's your security status. So when they changed the document, for the latest version, Rev 5, they added 9 controls in there for IPv6. And CIOs live and die by FISMA. Oh, let me add one last thing. Report IPv6 metrics. Okay, what is an IPv6 metric? That's a rhetorical question. What they're asking for is how many nodes, network nodes and hosts, are operationally using IPv6 only today? That is a very specific question, and the answers are being given through DHS back to OMB, Office of Management and Budget. And that's one of the key things that this memo stated. We're going to hold your feet to the fire. And when we wrote the memo, we had to take this into account. So the reason that we took this into account is because I was fortunate back in the day, in 2010, I wrote the first IPv6 security course of instruction, week-long course of instruction. And I did it with some very talented people. And we started talking about end-to-end security, as I said earlier. Okay, if we don't talk about end-to-end security from an IPv6 perspective, we literally are opening our door to so many attack surfaces, so many attack vectors. So we got to make sure it hits every single one of these elements in order to go forward. So this graphic here, as you read that, you're going, 2009, what, who, where, what? You can see all the numbers up there. You see everything else going on, okay? This is the thing about establishing an IPv6 transition. The technology has changed a little bit. How many people in here are watch the IETF go through stuff on a regular basis? No? Not that many? Okay, great. Yeah, well, it's like, thank you. The point about the IETF doing things, it's very important. It's very important to watch how the RFCs are being taken care of. But how many, just on a whim, how many RFCs are deprecated every day? A lot of changes. You got to keep track of what's going on with the IETF. But the point, though, is here's all the stuff that's going on. This was from 2009 roadmap document, but we actually started working this stuff before that. See the little areas of the circles? There's an inflection point. And the main thing is IPv4 has to go down, IPv6 has to go up. And that's your success metric. Now, how do you do that? I don't care if how many people are here familiar with Wireshark? Oh, come on, there's more of you. There you go. Okay, good. Whew, I got scary there for a second. Okay, so, I mean, just look at the packets. Come on, folks. You understand the difference between an IPv4 and IPv6 packet is, right? Nod your heads, please. Right? So the point is, okay, you can see that. Then you start collecting the metrics, right? Here's the databases. Here's the data, right? And so obviously you're going, wait a minute. We've reached the inflection point. And to the gentleman in the back, when we talk about applications, if you have a good application development team and you have application testers and you're doing a sandbox, and you've got a good SQA arrangement set up, guess what? You'll know which applications are going to be using IPv6 because it's either protocol independent or it's actually written to do that. How many people in here know that it's default that if you've got a Microsoft platform and there's an IPv6 connection, it will default to it? How many people in here knew that? Okay, thank you. Yeah. So, but the point is when you say default to IPv6, 2 years ago, the IRS.gov, I got IRS.gov onto the IPv6 internet, and we started tracking the statistics from 2012 forward, right? So last year we had over 50% utilization of IPv6 for IRS.gov, 50%. For those of you who know the Internal Revenue Service and money involved, that's a non-trivial amount of action. We found out that that was because the applications were talking to applications. So behind the scenes, nobody was clicking on the link saying, go to IPv6. These are the applications behind the scenes that are saying, okay, we're going to use IPv6 because it's there. That was one of those epiphany moments. We recommend that you do have something like this, so that's a visual thing. A lot of executives have to have a visual thing. It's one of those cases where you got to have something that allows people to take a hard look in a visual context as to what's happening. So as long as we can understand that and have the enclaves, lower left-hand corner, M2107, 2058%, can we get there? Absolutely, we can get there. And then finally, I did this presentation for the Federal IPv6 Task Force, and it was the presentation was best cases for transition. Everything I'm talking to you right now comes from experience. It's a 2-hour presentation. If by chance you want to go ahead and get this information later on, I can send it to you. It's on a WebEx, and I've got the slide. I saw the slides, believe it or not. And if anybody wants to hear this, I have no problem about giving you or your organization a presentation. The reason being is that sometimes all you need is a path. If you're courageous enough to take the path and realize that you trust yourself, you can make a difference. So that's one reason why I bring this up here. And this right here is the elements involved.